Simply Conscious presents Everyday Genius. Real-life stories of everyday genius, unconventional wisdom, and inspiring transformations. Hello, Daniel Wagner here, co-founder of Simply Conscious. I'm here with Pete Craig, and I know that Pete just interviewed for our Everyday Genius podcast the Pint-Sized Adventurer, Paolo Ben Salmi, an 11-year-old. And Pete, you're here with me right now. I wanted to ask you a little bit about this podcast you just done. Tell me a couple of the highlights. I mean, you've spoken to a kid. How can you get wisdom from an 11-year-old? Tell me what took place.
Hey, Daniel. It's crazy because I did a pre-interview with Paolo and his mum, and I didn't know what to expect. And very quickly, though, I realized that this wasn't someone that I needed to dumb down questions to. This wasn't someone that I needed to talk to any differently than you and I talk, the way you and I talk, or the way I interview anyone else that's coming onto this podcast. And so when we entered the podcast, he's kind of like, Mum said, look, I'm going to leave you guys alone. And she stepped out of the room, and he came alive.
Wow.
And you asked the question, where do you get wisdom from? The wisdom that comes from a child is actually so pure, and cutting. and we talk about this, and we've actually found this impact within our own business. He asked a question of me, and it cut.
I remember you sharing that. You said you came back into our conversation. I said, Dan, he asked me, what's the purpose of Simply Conscious? And I was like, shit, man, this is a penetrative question. He's really wanting to know, why are you guys doing this? And I hear you. And I mean, the whole idea of Simply Conscious is that we actually make this bold assumption and this statement to say, wisdom is within. Wisdom is not intellect. Wisdom is not how much did you study. Yet, when I listened to the interview, it looks like this guy has been on a self-development journey because his mom is passionate about all that since he was born. So he never really left the connection to his inner wisdom. Yeah. So the interview, tell me a little bit, what did you ask him about? What was the most impressive thing? What stood out for you in this short interview, in this Everyday Genius podcast with Paolo Ben?
I mean, there were so many kind of standout moments within this, and I think there's absolutely something for everyone to take away. It doesn't matter whether you're a child or whether you're an adult, whether you're in business or whether you're just in life. There were nuggets of wisdom that everyone can learn from. But I think the biggest thing for me was just not to have expectations about anyone, not to kind of prejudge people.
Nice.
Because they can surprise you. The depth of knowledge, depth of understanding, and the depth of questioning. This kind of like this curiosity. And I think that's something that I see other people are missing, is this desire to know things. And I mean, when I say know things, I mean really know things. And he has that. And I think that's something that we lose. It is this thing that we're born with. It's innate within us, but the kind of schooling system, the education system, takes that away from us. And what his mum's done beautifully is kind of allow her children to express themselves fully, not to overlay her own beliefs and her own thoughts onto them.
So she's given them space, right? She's really given them space, and she allowed this to flourish, but also. I mean, you said wisely, she said, I'm going to leave the room, I'll leave you guys to it. And the moment she left, he moved from being the 11-year-old son of Sabrina to, I'm my own man, and he owns his space. I was blown away. He's an ambassador for companies. He's earning his own money. He's doing his own YouTube channel. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, what would you say for parents would be the primary lesson, having talked to other 11-year-olds who are told that they are children, right, and they're not able to do this and that? What do you think is the primary lesson for parents listening to this podcast, if there was a lesson? What do you think it is?
The lesson actually came out, and I got clarity on that yesterday in the conversation that you and I had with his mom,
which was blow away in itself, right?
Yeah. Which is actually that we have no right as kind of parents, as adults, to overlay our beliefs and our our preconceptions about how things should be onto anyone, because we aren't in their world. So all we need to do is create this space, create this container, and that's safe, that just allows them then to play and to grow and to create and to develop their own character, which is the thing that I think, we so often we lose as we grow up, is we lose our true character.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is what's so beautiful. He has a very unique, very individual character, and so do all of the kids.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing, right?
But every single one of them has a standout personality, which just astounds me.
So Sabrina, she will be on one of our podcasts very soon. We had a great conversation with her yesterday. I want to just leave you with one more thing. She's got 5 children. All of them have developed into these incredible, strong individuals. I leave you with that one little note. Simply Conscious has a place called the Wisdom Council, where Pete and I invite some of the people that inspire us to give us guidance into the strategic direction of the business. And we just invited an 11-year-old to sit on a Wisdom Council, which he graciously accepted. So I'll leave you with that. Enjoy this incredible interview that Peter Craig, co-founder of Simply Conscious, has done with Paolo Ben Salmi, the Pint-Sized Adventurer. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Everyday Genius. I'm your host, Pete Craig, and today I'm excited to bring to the show someone who I've been blown away by. And how do I explain who he is? So let me first tell you, he is the youngest ambassador for a charity called Water to Go. He's also a partner with Brunel University. He runs his own publishing house, is a published author, a public speaker, and has his own TV and podcast show. And he's only 11 years old. Just turned 11, in fact. So it's a pleasure. I want to dive straight into this because it's a real pleasure to introduce you to Paolo Ben Salmi, aka the Pint Size Adventurer. Welcome to the show, Paolo.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come and interview me.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you. So I was trying to think a moment ago where you first popped onto my radar, and I was just sharing with you that was through an interview that you did on YouTube as part of your Paolo's World show, and it was an interview with a guy called Harry Hugo, who is one of the founders of the GOAT agency. And I loved I loved the interview. I loved your style of interviewing, and I loved the fact that here you are, at the time when you did this, a 10-year-old, interviewing successful business owners and entrepreneurs, which was something I loved, and it's something we don't see enough of. So that's why I reached out to you and to your mum to find out a little bit more about you and your family. And the more I found out about you guys, the more interesting, the more fascinating you become, and that's why I think it's really important that we share this and we have this opportunity to just talk a little bit more about you, about your philosophy on life, and about what you've managed to achieve. Because I honestly do believe that, as I do everyone, that you have a genius within you that needs to be shared, and I want to give you a platform to be able to do that. So. I want to start with something that we do within our own business, which is just to invite you to take part in a little check-in, if that's okay with you. Yeah.
Yeah, anything.
Cool. So the first question I want to ask you is just tell me what's alive in you right now. Because I know you've got so many ideas and things that are bubbling in you all of the time. What's the thing that's really alive in you right now that's getting you so excited?
So one of the things that's really, really alive in me is a recent partnership. So I've been waiting for this for a pretty long time. And so we met a guy, and his name is Anor. We met him at an event, and he's he's launching his own company called Viewbox. And it's have you heard of TikTok?
Yes, yeah.
So it's basically like TikTok, but it's 20 minutes of video time. So much longer than the amount of video time that TikTok gives you.
Yeah.
So it's like TikTok, but it has the extra features. And so a recent partnership, I am an ambassador for them. as soon as they launch. And so that's something that's been blasting me with happiness, and everything.
Congratulations. Well, good luck with that. And I'm sure then people will be able to get access to even more of your own words of wisdom through that channel. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Well, keep us posted, and as soon as that's live, then we'll take a look at that and we'll share that with our community as well.
Thank you.
So the next question, leading on from that, is what is the universe inviting you to do more of right now?
Well, I think at a time and the pandemic like now, the universe, I think it's telling me to share my message more, because of a lot of people out there right now. There's a lot of people struggling at times like now, and especially what's going on. People are getting panics, and they're very fearful. And the universe is urging me to tell my story, and it's actually happened. I am telling my story. So there's a movie coming out called How Thoughts Become Things, and I am the lead interviewer for that movie. So I've interviewed the movie director who's created for the movie. And so, have you heard of like Bob Proctor, Dr. John DeMartini?
Of course.
Royal, Denis Waitley, so all those people are included in the movie, and I get to interview them. And the guy who created this movie is called Douglas Vermeeren. And so each time someone out there in the world buys this movie, one of the bonuses is my interview with the founder of the movie. So the universe is definitely telling me and urging me to share my story, and also share with whether it's young, middle-aged or old people, just to share their story as well. That's why I created my publishing house called Adventurous Publishing, just so that, because anything can be an adventure.
Cool.
It depends what type of adventure you think is fun for you.
Absolutely.
So I think the universe is urging me to tell my story.
Tell your story more. Excellent. And finally, before we can dive into the real stuff, what are you grateful for right now?
So I love that question, because me and my family, we do a daily exercise. So we look outside at the sun, we look up, and we look at the clouds, we look at whatever's happening, and then we just do a 10-minute exercise of saying, I'm grateful for this. So I'm going to be pretty good at this one. So the things that I'm grateful for right now is just you, being grateful for you, because a lot of the time you don't get this opportunity to for someone like yourself to actually let you share your story and also share your message over their platform. So thank you very much. Grateful for that. And also being able to walk, talk, and also having a MacBook in order to do this interview. So literally everything and anything I'm grateful for at this moment right now.
Perfect. And that's an amazing kind of way to start the day as well, is just in gratitude. And I love the fact that, as a family, you do that together. And I think something else that I love is that you've kind of reiterated the point that you're grateful for things that are happening right now. You're grateful for the moment rather than necessarily material things. You're grateful for the moment and what's happening within it.
Yeah, I think, like what you said, I really think it's really good to be grateful for things. And also all families or anyone that's watching this right now, I urge you to start doing gratitude daily exercises. Because if you don't be grateful for things and you don't show that you're grateful for them, and you're only grateful for materialistic things like money and your car, your house, other than the people around you that help you and urge you to be who you are, you're going to grow up to be a very selfish person, because you're not grateful for things. And also being grateful for things means caring for others. So you won't be a caring person, you'll just be a selfish person. So think about that.
Yeah. So I'm curious, and I love everything that you've just said, and it's something that I believe, and it's something that that we practice at Simply Conscious. What I'm curious about, and I'm sure many of the people that are listening will be curious about, is how does an 11-year-old like get that level of wisdom? How, what's brought you to those conclusions? Because this isn't, I know from speaking to both you and to your mum, I know that this isn't something that you're just learning. This is actually something that comes from within you. This is something you believe. It's not just something that you've been taught or that's been forced on you by your mum or by other peers around you. This is something that's intrinsic to you. So where has this come from for you? What's drawn that out?
I love this question. So, like you said, I really love that. So, my mum, she started in the personal development world at maybe the year 2000. So, the year that my older sister was being born. So, my mum started at personal development, and she really liked the different teachings that they would teach you in the personal development world. Yeah. So a lot of the workshops that we went to were all about gratitude, being grateful for things, not only materialistic things, but also being grateful for yourself and everything around you, and also to be aware of your surroundings. So a lot of the time when I say this, people think, oh, I bumped into something, that's being aware of my surroundings. But being aware of your surrounding is also caring for others. So if there's a person on the street and they're asking for food, or they might be asking for money, it's a simple thing to just go up to them and give them money, because you never know how that's going to change that person's life. Because one of the things that we learned at personal development, in personal development events, is that £100 to you may be maybe a big loss, but if someone was to give that £1 to that homeless person, it would be a big treasure, because one man's treasure, I can't remember the
one man's
the
trash
saying.
Is another man's treasure. Yeah.
Yes, because everyone's going to value things different than someone else. So £100 to someone who may have a lot of money might not be a lot. It might seem like nothing, just a dust of paper. But £100 to a person that's never had £100 in their bank before, it's going to be a lot. So just be aware of your surroundings, be grateful for things, and those are the things that not only have I learned, but I've implemented it into my life.
And so you've seen that by acting in this way and by embracing these attitudes, you've seen direct results. Can you give me an example of an instance where you have where you've had feedback, kind of like feedback from the universe, feedback from the world around you? That's something that you've done is coming back. We talked about this when we first talked about how we operate on a level of frequency, and what you put out, you get back. So, is there an example that you can give to us where the way you operate and the frequency you operate at has actually come back to you in a good way or in a positive way?
So when you actually implement these teachings, not only learn it, then you're like a magnet, but a very strong magnet. And not only do you attract big magnets, but you can also attract little tiny magnets. So whatever it is, so how big the magnet you are, the more you attract. But it depends on what frequency that the magnet is on, that the other magnets that it's attracting. So a lot of the so something that I usually say on interviews is, if you have a car key, and this car key, you just got this car today, and the person who owned the shop that gave you this car key for the car didn't tell you that it was on a different frequency to the car that you want to get in. Well, you could agree with this, but it's more likely not to open your car and more likely to open someone else's car.
Yeah.
So it's not on the same frequency as what you want. So if, let's say, this car is like a Mercedes, it has a V8 engine, it looks really nice, it's all polished and everything, but if it's not on the same frequency as that Mercedes that's really polished, it has the V8 engine, then it's probably going to unlock someone else's car, and that is not the car that you want, because you want to be on the same frequency as this car. So it's not about whether we have the car keys in our hands, it's about that car key being reliable, like ourselves. So we have to be reliable, not on other people or not people to rely on us. We have to rely on ourselves. So we always have to be on the same frequency as what we want. Otherwise, we're going to get something else.
Absolutely. And is there an example you can give me of something that you've attracted, that you've kind of like wanted, or that you've kind of like dreamed about, that came into reality based on you holding that, that kind of like frequency?
Yes. So once I practiced this, I've always wanted to be an engineer. And so once I implemented this into my life, we actually got to work with Brunel University, like you said in the introduction. So we took master classes at Brunel when I was only year 6, and the children taking the master class was in year 9. And you can see how big the gap is. Yeah. So whenever you are on the same frequency as something, it doesn't matter, you're always going to get it. So that's one of the results that I got from being on the same frequency as it.
Perfect. Awesome. Now, do you want to bring that thing back into shot that you just had there? Before we just started, you had something in the camera. Do you want to bring that back in so as everyone can see it? Yeah, bring it across a bit more. That's it. That's the one. Yeah. So I've asked you to bring that back in because this is kind of like key to your mission, and I want you just to share with people, what your mission is. What do you feel your purpose is? Because it's this is the key to it, isn't it?
Yes. So I really like this question because I went to an event and then there was this boy, and he's he lives in Spain, and he can't really speak English properly, but he knows all the easy parts, so he can say hello and all that stuff. So he went up to me and he said, "What's your purpose?" He said, "What's your purpose?" And then I was just looking at this boy and I was thinking, I don't think he said it properly. I don't think he interpreted it properly. Or maybe he said the wrong word. But he asked me what my purpose was. And it took me quite a long time to figure that out. And then I kept on coming up with ideas. And I was like, oh, yeah, a race car driver. My purpose is to be an engineer. And then he kept on asking me, what's your purpose? And then later I realized what my purpose was. So my purpose, I am a true born engineer. So engineers fix things, right? So I'd like to fix all the broken hearts in the world, all the broken things in the world, and also try and help and build up all, whether it's youth or elderly. I want to help them implement what I have in my book and everything I teach into their lives. So I'd like to not only share my message, but also share their message, because it doesn't matter where you come from, what you do, or whatever you've done. You can always be a better person than you were in the past. So I'd like to help people implement these different things into their lives so they can be a better person and step into their higher self.
Awesome. That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the Pint-Sized Adventurer. Because there's this isn't just a kind of fantasy kind of book. Much as kind of like the artwork looks like it might be an Indiana Jones type thing. There's actually a lot of thought behind this, and you've got a belief around what an adventurer is and how people should live life.
Yes. So I don't really call myself an adventurer just because I go on adventures. I call myself Pint-Sized Adventurer. Well, it's the same thing, but as a Pint-Sized Adventurer, I like to go on adventures of self-discovery. So in order to be an adventurer, you have to go on 2 different adventures to be an adventurer. So an external adventure of into the world, exploring this beautiful world, and an internal adventure, learning about and going on an adventure of self-discovery. So that's why I'm called Pint-Sized Adventurer. So so it's about going on both adventures, and it's not just going on both adventures once. It's about going on them many times, because so in the movie that How Fools Become Things, Denis Waitley said you should never ever be you should never ever be what's the word? You should never ever be satisfied. Because like the saying, you every day you learn. So there's nothing that no one knows everything. So every day you're learning something new. So never be satisfied. So what I learned was I should never be satisfied with my life and keeping improving and urging myself to be better than I was yesterday. So like I said, don't go on a journey of self-discovery once. Never be satisfied with it. Keep on learning about yourself until the day you have your last breath. Yeah. Keep on learning about yourself so you can help yourself interpret different laws into your life.
Fantastic. That's a great response. Thank you for that. And as a result of this, you've kind of then opened up your publishing house, and your publishing house is to give other people the opportunity to publish their adventures as well. Is that right?
Yes. So, like I said, 2 adventures of self-discovery and also an external adventure of exploring the world. So whatever adventure you've been on, that's what my publishing house is for.
Yeah. Perfect. Now, you've mentioned that you're a natural born engineer. How did you discover that? What made you realize that? Because not many people know straight away what they want to do. But this is I've had a couple of conversations with you now, and this is something that has come up both times. And you're very kind of resolute about the fact that that's who you are at your core. It's not so much about. I feel that it's not so much about that's the job that you are, or that's the job you want to do. It's not that you want to be an engineer for a job. It's just that you identify yourself as an engineer.
The engineer, yes. So I don't think I found this out before. I don't think I actually found it out. I think my mum's finances found it out because every time my mum would buy me, let's say, this £100 remote control car, whatever it is, from 100 to 1,000, I would literally get the car, I'd put it on my table, and I'd say, "Mum, screwdriver and all of our tools, and a hammer, everything." And I go up to this car, and I said, "I'm going to take you apart." So I take it apart bit by bit, take off the wheels, everything, from the bottom to the top. I take off everything. And then my mum would say, whoa, you have to go and pay for that.
Yeah.
So when you find money, go and pay for it back. But then a few days later, because it's not a quick time to put things back together, I put it back together, and I said, I learned all the different parts of the cars. And that's how I found my mom and I and her finances found out that I was a true born engineer. So yeah, it was a very cool time for me when my mom had to pay for all these cars and stuff so I can take them apart and put them back together. But now, as I've got older, now I just turned 11, it's my finances that are finding out that I'm a true born engineer.
So
yeah, that's how I found
your finances are now taking the hit. Yeah. that's funny.
I know. I think.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure your mum is breathing a sigh of relief as well now.
Yeah, she is.
Cool. And this is a slightly different question. How do you relate engineering to humanity?
I like this question. I really, really like this question. So how I relate engineering to humanity is, so the different parts in like whatever you're building, it's related to humanity and the human body, whatever it is. So the same way a plane functions, so it has the motors. So the motor is basically the heart. So the heart is basically the heart of a human. So that's how I connect. So different parts of different things, I like to connect it to humanity, and also how if one thing isn't in the right place, if one thing isn't working, if one thing is too old and it needs to be replaced in whatever it is that you're building or what you're doing, the whole thing fails. So you have to be accurate when you're building things. So, and you also have to be accurate in life. But in life, it's hard to be accurate because that's when you find your true self. Yeah. So a lot of the time in life, we have these bits of pieces that are getting maybe too rusty. They're not working so well. And we need to, sometimes we need to replace them. But in order to be a healthy human being and also live our lives freely and amazingly, we have to find all the pieces that we need in life. And sometimes it's not only physical pieces, but it's also mental pieces that we need to fix those joints.
Yeah, excellent response. Great response. So when you think about that, and if we use this idea of being an engineer still, and just take it a step further, and we look at creation,
yes.
We're all creators, but one of the things that we've forgotten, or I believe we've forgotten, is we've forgotten how to connect with the part of us that allows us to be freely creative and allows us to unlock our genius. You're in a very unique and blessed situation that your mum and the rest of your family, your siblings, support you, and they give you this framework that allows you to be free. But from your understanding of freedom, your understanding of humanity, your understanding of consciousness, and your understanding of creation, because we've already talked about that through frequency and through manifestation. How do you, if you had to speak to someone, if you had to explain to someone else, perhaps someone your age or a little bit older, if you had to explain to them how to reconnect with that part of them, what would be your advice? How would you guide them to get to that place? How would you guide them to find themselves, essentially?
Yes. So how I would urge someone to find their core and also themselves is what I was saying before. So you always have to have the right pieces. You have to be accurate when you're creating something in order for it to work properly. Yeah. So in life, I think for people to reconnect with themselves, they need to not only physically fix some joints and also fix themselves and also treat themselves how they need to be treated so that other people know their standards, but they also have to mentally fix those joints, because like I said before, if one thing isn't right, then the whole thing's going to fall apart. So just reconnect to your true self. And also I think people need to, like what you said with the frequencies, I think people need to, because in your body everything is all about frequencies. So you have to be on the same frequency as your core and who you really are in order for you to step into your higher power. So when I say higher power, I mean like your godly essence. So I read this book and it's called your I am, because you would never say they am in a sentence. You'd say I am doing this, I am doing that. So you have to tune in with your I am and step into who you are. And tune in the same frequency so that not only can you step into your power, but you can also urge the people around you to step into their power. So imagine a world where everyone is stepping into their power and that has tuned in with their frequency. And imagine how beautiful a world that would be. So that's how I would urge someone to reconnect with himself.
Yeah. That's amazing, and I love that you talked about and you brought up this idea of I am, and I know in your Thoughts Become Things, one of the speakers or one of the participants in the film is Dr. Joe Vitale. Are you going to be interviewing him?
Yes, I'm going to be interviewing him as well. All of them, yes.
Perfect. So Joe Vitale, as you may well know, kind of launched a program or brought to common knowledge a program or a practice called Ho'oponopono, which with Dr. Hugh Lin. Are you familiar with Ho'oponopono?
I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't been through the course and everything, because it's because I'm pretty busy, so I'm gonna go look at Hana.
Cool. So yeah, so but essentially the principle there is that we are everything, and our only job in this life is to remember that and to get back to that. Everything else is, all the memories that we have are the things that are stopping us from moving forward, because those memories create limitations for us. It's something that we've perhaps tried before and we haven't been able to do, so that creates a block for us. And it's the same with what other people say to you. And kind of you're kind of super encouraged, to think much bigger within your family group, and there are no limitations. Everything's on the table, which is a beautiful way to to operate. There should be no limits in our thinking, and once we start to remove the limits in our thinking, that's when we can achieve our fullest potential. And I love that that's what you do personally, but it's also what you do as a family. You really shoot for the moons, to quote Peter Diamandis. You take moonshots, and and that's a beautiful thing as a family. Talk to me a little bit about Water to Go, because I want to make sure that we cover off some of the things that you represent, some of the things you're an ambassador for, and clearly those are things that you're passionate about as well. So I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about that, and how, again, how does an 11-year-old become an ambassador for a technology company, but also for a company like Water to Go?
Yeah, I like that you asked this question, because I've got a really cool story that I'm going to share. I can't
wait to hear it. Go on.
So Water to Go is about. So Water to Go is a company. They've created a filtration system. So this bottle has a filter and it eliminates 99.9% of bacteria, pesticides, viruses. So anything that you don't want in your water, it eliminates 99.9% of it, which is a high percentage for a filter.
Yeah.
So Water to Go, so they created a bottle that eliminates 99.9% of anything that you don't want in your water. And a lot of the time I get asked, is this for only when you're traveling? So it's not only for when you're traveling, because the water that we're drinking right now, it doesn't matter if you use Brita or any other filter company, I'm 100% assuring you that it's not 100% clean water. So Water to Go is it's the company that's safe to drink from. So it's also money efficient. So they're smaller bottles. They've got smaller bottles, 50 centiliters, which so it's the same as this bottle. It's just smaller. You can take that anywhere with you. And this bottle is the 75 centiliter. They're both the same. They're just different sizes. And so you can take it anywhere with you, whether you're going to stay at home. I assure you that the water you're drinking is not 100% clean. And also this filter, you don't have to. It's also BPA free. Which so BPA means that so if you have a plastic bottle and you leave it out in the sun, it releases toxins, which isn't good for your body and also the other people around you. So this bottle, if you leave it in the sun, no harm done to anyone's body. So it doesn't release any toxins. And so it's a really cool bottle to buy, and it's healthy, efficient, and also you only have to replace the filter. So this filter lasts for 3 months. Yeah. So you only change it 4 times in a year.
Excellent. So how did that come about? Were you introduced to them? Did they come to you? I'm curious to know how that relationship was formed.
So to answer that question, I think I went to them. So we went to a seminar, and no, not a seminar. It was like an event where people held stands there. So we went to visit the NBC, and after we were done meeting them, saying our hi, saying our goodbyes, we went over to my mum's friends. So one of my mum's friends was holding a stand at this event, and my mum and her friend and my sisters, all the girls in my family, like to talk a lot. So I was like, I don't want to get involved, otherwise I'm going to be here for like 2 hours, 5 hours, something. So I was like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go away because I don't want to be about this because it's gonna end up being very boring and a bit too long. So I went to the right hand side of myself and I walked down. I walked down the hall, and then I looked to my left, and then there was a company, and they had dirty water in a jug, and they poured it inside of this bottle, and when they squeezed it out, it came out clean water. And I was thinking, no, these guys didn't just do that. I was just trying to process it because, and then he told me to come over here, come drink a shot, and I was like, no, thank you. He asked me because once they poured it into the shot glass, they would give it to everyone to come and take a sip and see if it was clean water. I didn't touch them, so I was like, no, thank you, I'm fine. Because in the jug he was like, oh, excrement, and he would leave the jug, the water that he had in the jug. It actually came from his roof, so he'd get a ladder and he'd scoop it out the top of his roof, and he'd pour that into the bottle, and it came out clean water. And so to fast forward, I think I'm a bit contradictory because I said that girls talk a lot, the girls in my family, but I was talking for hours with this guy.
Yeah.
So later on, he spoke to my mom, and then he said, your son gave me life coaching. He's really amazing. He gave me business coaching, everything, gave me mentoring. And then he gave me his business card. And at the time, it said Dave Shanks. And that guy's name was Dave Shanks. And it said founder of Water to Go. And this guy's name was Dave Shanks. So I didn't say anything because I was just a bit confused. So I went and walked off. And then, so I was telling my mom that, he's going to give me a percentage of his company. He's going to make me an ambassador and everything. And my mom was like, oh, you like to talk so much. You talk more than me. And then she was telling me, just stop. It's not going to happen. He's not going to give you a percentage of his company. And guess what? A week later, he contacted my mum, and I was nice enough not to say I told you so. And he said, I spoke to my official team, spoken to all the other ambassadors, and we'd like to make you an ambassador for Water to Go. And then I was just dancing around around the house while my mum, her mouth was she was just confused. And then the next day, I was on London Live for being an ambassador for Water to Go. So it was a cool journey. I should have told my mum I told you so, but that's how it happened. I really thank them for talking a lot because it helped me to get this to be an ambassador for Water to Go.
Fantastic! That's an amazing story. Who do you really want to interview? Who's the person that you want to kind of interview the most, and why? I mean, you've got the opportunity. I know through your thoughts become things to interview some amazing people. You'll do an amazing job, I know, just from this conversation. But is there someone, and perhaps it's not even a celebrity, perhaps it's not even someone who's in the public spotlight. Is there someone who's doing amazing things that you really admire and that you would love to interview?
Yes, there is someone, and I've loved this guy. I've been watching him my whole life, and his name is Bear Grylls. So Bear Grylls is an adventurer, and I'd love to interview him. I love the work that he does, but I don't like the stuff he eats. So he's one of the guys that I've always wanted to interview.
Cool. And is that something that you're working on manifesting?
Yes.
Yeah. And
definitely.
So can you let us into a secret how you're doing that?
Like I said before, you always have to be on the same frequency as something. So also being grateful for everything in your life, and also like the law of attraction, you ask for something, then you get your answer. It might not be the same thing that you want, but it'll be the closest alternative to that thing. Yeah. So I've been trying to manifest it and asking the universe, please.
Well, I'm sure in time, and maybe even not in the not too distant future, that's going to become a reality for you. I'm sure. I'm confident of that. Is your mum listening?
No, Mum's not here.
Cool. Because I want you to, I want to ask you to share something that you've never told anyone before in public. Can you do that?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So something that maybe even your mum doesn't know. Maybe it's something that you haven't yet confessed to her. But I'd just love if, and this is a question that we ask to everyone. I'd love it if you could share something that you've never told anyone else before. So this becomes an exclusive Paolo Ben Salmi interview.
I can't remember. So I don't think there's anything that I haven't told my mum, because like there's nothing you can't tell her.
Okay, so
oh yeah, I didn't tell her something. So I went on an adventure with my buddy called Jordan Wiley, and so he let me drive this speedboat. So I was driving a speedboat going around, and one of the things that she doesn't know is I almost fell in the water and I almost drowned. So she doesn't know that. So I almost fell in the water while driving a speedboat, and I was at the back, so my face would have got completely off because the motor was at the back. So that's something I hasn't told her, because I don't want to get my buddy Jordan in trouble.
Well, I'm sorry to say she knows now, or she will do.
Yeah, she will do.
But what I just want to rewind a little bit, because it was part of the reason why I asked this question. And I loved your first response, and your first response was, there really isn't anything that I haven't told my mum. And I think that's that's an important part of who you are and why you are the way you are, and why the way your brothers and sisters just seem to be as incredible as you, as creators and as leaders, for a new generation. So I think that's credit to your mum for sure. But something I want to ask you is how does that make you feel sometimes that collectively you share everything? Because in society, especially for older people, sharing so openly is not commonplace. It should be, but it isn't. So I want to kind of get your take on are there times when you feel like you would actually just like rather keep things private? Or do you actually find the process of sharing and of being kind of deeply engaged in your sharing and in each other's lives, do you find that beneficial?
So I think that when whoever it is, so whether you live with your mom, your dad, whoever you live with, I think it's always good to be honest to people, because in a relationship, then you develop unhealthy habits where you're not completely honest to your partner about the feelings that you have for them. So whether you maybe not like them, whatever it is, you won't be an open person to actually share with them and also tell them that this isn't right. And also that leads to unhealthy relationships. Not only will you have an unhealthy lifestyle, but you'll also have an unhealthy connection between you two. So I think it's always good to be honest, because if you're honest, then you're leading by example, and then that person will say, oh, he's opening up, or maybe she's opening up, so maybe if I open up, it might make our relationship more better and we can become more close. So I think I really like what you said before, that like in a society like now, not many people are honest with whoever they live with, or whoever it is that you're not honest with. Not many people are honest with them, and sometimes this can become a life consequence, because it can lead to different things that you don't know how to cope with in your life. So in the first chapter of my book, it says it's good to talk. So it's always good to talk, because when our parents or whoever around you that may be older than you and have gone through different experiences as you, and you might be going through the same experience as them, they will be open and they'll be able to share how they cope with that experience. Whatever it is, just be open to share, so that you not only can they be able to trust you, but also you being able to trust yourself. So always be open and always be able to share and always be honest, because you never know how this thing can take your relationship 5 steps back when you just took 4 steps forward. So always be open and honest.
That's really good advice, and I think you touched on it a little bit there, and I just want to kind of recap on that. So it's not just about being honest with other people and open with honest people. I think when you do act in that way and communicate in that way, it also forces you to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
Which is perhaps even more important, because if the story you're telling yourself in your own head is different to the one that you want, going back to collect frequency and creating, if the story you're telling yourself in your own head is different to the one that you want, then you're never going to get that, are you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I love that that's in your book as well. So I want to ask you to share a few words of wisdom. So if you were to, let's kind of just imagine that kind of a being had come down from another planet, or someone who has been living in the depths of the jungle and has never met modern society or communicated with anyone before. What are the kind of words of wisdom that you would give them about how to interact and live in this world?
So one of the words of wisdom is, is it okay if I share a quote?
Yeah, for sure.
So this quote is actually one of the quotes I have I share with people at my events. So like if you've never connected with someone, or you've never connected with someone on a certain level or on a deep level, I think this quote's really going to help you. So this quote is basically like a bow and arrow. So the bow and arrow is the metaphor. So sometimes in life you may be dragged back from your dreams, even though you are so close to making it. You are so close to making it to your goal. But that's because life is going to launch you into something great. So keep on aiming and you're doing great.
Fantastic. I love that quote. Yeah, really good. Okay. Before we wrap up, this is a funny question to ask, because you're only 11. But if you were to look back, is there one piece of advice you would give to your younger self? It seems if someone asked me that question, there's a whole bunch of things that I would do differently, and bits of advice I would give. But in your short life, and especially given the experience that you've had so far and what you've achieved, are there any things that you look back on and you think, actually, if that situation happened again, knowing what I know now, here's what I would share?
Yes. So the thing that I would tell to my younger self is to just believe in yourself, believe in myself, and to keep on going. Because at times people have bullied me in my life, and they've told me I can't do this, I can't do that. So just keep on focused, keep your eyes on the board, and make your way to the top.
Fantastic. That's beautiful. And finally, I'm not sure if you were able to do it, but I sent you our 10 ways.
Yes.
Yeah. If you've had a chance to look through that, I'd love to know what your favorite one or two of the 10 ways to access your inner wisdom and ignite your own genius. Which are the two that really kind of stood out for you and that made you think, yes, those are the ones for me?
Yeah. So it was actually number 6 and number 7. So get up and get out. And I can't remember what number 6 was, but I know what it talks about.
Okay.
So get up and get out was all about instead of just focusing on a screen, just get up, go on an adventure, exploring whatever you want to explore, going and exploring nature. And also, instead of living in this modern society and living like next to cars and not next to much forestry, go and live next to forestry and nature, because it helps you open up and connect to your true self.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and I thought that one might be one that you would enjoy, because it's so so similar to what you talk about within the within your book, and I've heard you talk about it a little bit more before. So yeah, I love that. That's one that you enjoyed. And number 6, did you say as well?
So number 6 is all about stop focusing on technology and go and explore. It's a bit similar to number 7. That's why I really like those two, because it's what I'm all about. So get out, explore more, and not only go on an external adventure, also learn about yourself. So instead of looking at your technology, go and explore, put the technology down and go and go outside.
Number 6 was to look up.
Exactly.
So to look up, we gave the analogy of kind of looking up from your devices. We've become device oriented, to look up from those, but also just to look up in general, to look up and be in gratitude for what's around you, in gratitude for everything that's happening. So beautiful.
That's actually what one of the stars in the How to Thoughts Become Things movie. It's his name is Travis Fox, and he said that technology and social media is the biggest hypnosis in the world, because everyone is completely staring at it. And it's not that like those movies where they tell you, oh, look here, and concentrate your eyes. But it's actually, you get hyped up about it. So if someone wants to give you a book, well, with children right now, if I was to give them my book, and also I was to say, if you read this book, I'll give you an Xbox. But if I said, I'll give you this book and it will help you to improve your life, wouldn't you agree that the kid's going to take the first option, not the second option?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because they're so hyped up about technology. So it basically hypnotizes you. And not like what I was saying before, but it's because if a kid's playing on this, he doesn't want to stop. So they're amazing hypnotists, because they have the secret serum to keep you focused on this thing for such a long time that you don't even want to come off. So you're glued to it.
Yeah.
So So get up and get out, like what it says in your course for Simply Conscious. So get up and get out, stop looking at technology, and go and explore life.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Paolo. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know we could talk for hours, but I kind of have to limit this. So thank you so much for spending the time with us. I look forward to connecting with you more, and perhaps sharing more of your words of wisdom with the world.
Thank you for taking your time out of your day and coming to interview me. I'm really, really grateful for that. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Goodbye.
Bye.
If you made it to here and you enjoyed this podcast, there is tons more. Pete Craig, his Everyday Genius podcast. You can find more information simplyconscious.com and look for the podcast section. Of course, find us on all the popular platforms. Also, we invite you to join our Facebook group and get involved to bring more of your inner wisdom and innate genius to the world. Looking forward to seeing you as part of our community.
For more real-life stories of everyday genius, unconventional wisdom, and inspiring transformations, subscribe to our podcast or go to simplyconscious.com. Get more out of life.